Very early good morning from Nigeria to everybody that is joining us from across the globe. My name is Modupe Adefeso-Olateju, and I am a 2020-21 AsiaGlobal Fellow and a policy expert specializing in public-private partnerships in education. It is a pleasure to be with all of you today at the first virtual Asia Global Dialogue, or AGD 2020. It has become a tradition to have an Asia Global Fellow open the AGD every year, and I am humbled and grateful for the opportunity to carry on the tradition this year under such extraordinary circumstances. It is my privilege to begin today's conference with a conversation with the 16th President and Vice-Chancellor of the University of Hong Kong, Professor Xiang Zhang. And Professor Zhang is an accomplished professor of mechanical engineering and a scientist who has published hundreds of papers in peer-reviewed journals. He is widely regarded as a pioneer in the fields of nanophotonics, nanoengineering, and metamaterials. In 2018, Professor Zhang took the reins at HKU, where he continues to lead Asia's global university to achieve the next level of excellence and to inspire a new generation of leaders and spark intellectual, social, and economic transformations in Asia and across the globe. To kick off our eventful and enriching day, Professor Zhang and I will be discussing the impact that COVID-19 has had on universities, its long-term consequences for higher education, and Hong Kong's role as an education hub in the Greater Bay Area. But first, I would like to invite Professor Zhang to give his opening remarks. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind introduction, Mo. Good morning from Hong Kong, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the Asian Global Dialogue, or AGD 2020, organized by the Asian Global Institute, a think tank established by the Fang Global Institute together with the University of Hong Kong. Thank you for joining us online. The AGD is Asia's premier forum for the constructive dialogue to inspire fresh perspectives on key global issues. The University of Hong Kong is proud of Institute's important contributions to international conversation through identifying Asian perspectives for global challenges in this work and also in previously forums. This year, the AGD will be exploring the theme towards a new multilateral global economy. For the first time, the forum will be hosted entirely online and open to the public. Hong Kong and the rest of the world have had to adapt to changing circumstances in 2020. As 2021 approaches, we are still adapting. In this turbulent landscape, more people than ever are connecting digitally with each other and through organizations to participate in global conversations such as AGD on issues on multilateralism, climate change, COVID-19, and post-pandemic recovery, and digital technology for the common good. Though COVID-19 has brought unprecedented challenges to us individually and as a society, my hope is that our renewed sense of togetherness continue beyond the pandemic so that we can enhance engagement in other global issues. The AGD is a perfect example of this drive, moving the conference online and engaging the public exemplify the university's innovative spirit in the face of unprecedented global challenges. I'd like to thank Asian Global Institute's leadership, co-chairs Dr. Victor Fang, Professor Michael Spence, and Professor Zhiwu Chen, the Institute Director, for hosting the AGD 2020 and to continue to bring the very much needed constructive dialogues on the global stage. I would also like to thank all the eminent thought leaders from around the globe to speak at the Asian Global Dialogue. I hope that you all enjoy our different sessions today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for those excellent opening remarks, Professor Zhang. Let us now launch into the conversation. So the pandemic has posed enormous challenges to students, teachers, and educational institutions at all levels. Universities have faced particular trials. I would like you to tell us about the Hong Kong University experience, how the university community has been coping, and what your thoughts are on the impact of COVID-19 on the university and on higher education more broadly.
Thank you, Mo. This is a very timely question. I guess the pandemic actually followed the social unrest in Hong Kong, resulting in the most challenging time since World War II. As you know, all that Hong Kong, not only Hong Kong, but also the whole world, because of a pandemic, the teaching and learning has been moved online for most of university. But in Hong Kong, we have been really keep the dual mode, basically mixed of face-to-face and online, depending on what time and how situations are. We have been really flexible in teaching, but it's a challenging, I have to say. Our teachers and students has been working very hard to ensure the quality of learning. And this is not easy because we have to make sure all the feedbacks from the students to our teachers are on time, and we can improve constantly how we teach and how we make the interaction more frequently. And this is compared with the face-to-face teaching, this is a tremendous challenge. But at the same time, our deans and teachers held the workshops to enhance the best practice of teaching, and so that our students receive the best possible quality. The disruption, of course, is undesirable, but at the same time has a silver lining. It forced us to pause, think, and innovate for our future. It also greatly enhanced our online education. And previously, you know that every university has an online program and so on, but we haven't been able to go into such a large scale in such a long time. And this is unprecedented, but at the same time, I would say that if you look at something positive outcome from this pandemic in terms of education, the online education definitely flourished. And that enables us in the future, one university can project their teaching classes into different part of the world. Say, I can set up a virtual campus in Lagos, Nigeria, or in Malaysia in the future. So this will vastly, scale up our teaching ability to different group of people, different age, and so on. So this is something is interesting. Now, research-wise, we are also doing well. Honestly speaking, on the research front, generally, we have a rather relatively smaller disruption compared with teaching. And our researchers and PhD students, postdocs have been working very hard in the lab, of course, keeping the social distancing as a general rule. And give you a few examples, Hong Kong U has been really a champion in research in the pandemic related COVID virus research. We are the first university to discover the COVID human-to-human transmission in the world. That is crucial to prepare the world for the worst to come. The Microsoft recently also ranked Hong Kong U as the best COVID research institution in the world. And this is partially due to our excellent researchers in the infection diseases and also accumulation of knowledge and research strength since the 17 years ago, the SARS days in Hong Kong in 2003. Also, we are actively developing the world's first nasal spray vaccine. And this is using the, not injection, rather a nasal spray, which is currently under clinical trial. And we hope that provide complementary vaccine to the world. And also, in this difficult time, while we struggle with our own teaching and learning on the campus, we're also actively, our teachers and students actively serving the community in Hong Kong in this difficult time. We designed the online teaching module for primary and secondary students, particularly support those underprivileged. As you know that the job market, the economy doesn't look good right now around the world. And we also at Hong Kong U launched the program to help our own 2020 graduates. We set up two schemes. One is actually the scholarship for our fresh graduates to go on for graduate study to get a master's degree. And the other program, essentially, Hong Kong U provide internal internships for our fresh graduates who can find a short period of time working in Hong Kong U while the transition to the job market. So this help our student cope with the difficult time. And I believe that this is now very difficult for everybody, but we need to be continuously innovate, be flexible and agile, and collaborate. Hopefully, our renewed sense of togetherness will continue beyond the pandemic to enhance our engagement in the future on broader issues such as global challenges, as I said in my early remarks.
Thank you so much for those excellent remarks, Prof. You've touched on a number of extremely important issues, and I think, first of all, I want to congratulate you and the Hong Kong University on the incredible feats that you have just iterated regarding research, in the institution. Now, going back to teaching, we know that on the technology side, there are questions about whether virtual learning will result in a significant shift to online education. Now, I come from Africa, I come from Nigeria, where there is increasing interest in the notion of Asia as a destination for higher education. Now, the question I want to ask is, tell us a bit more about Hong Kong's continuing role as an education hub, particularly in the context of China's development and in the growth of the Greater Bay Area and the Asia-Pacific region more broadly. Given all the challenges that the community has faced over the past 18 months, what do you see as opportunities for Hong Kong, bearing in mind that you may be welcoming many more students from around the world who are interested in receiving a Hong Kong education?
Thank you, Mo. Of course, as many of you know that this is the worst time and this is also best time. In Chinese, the crisis comes with two words. One is dangerous. Of course, there's a risk and dangers. Secondly, it is also at the same time is opportunity. So we call 危机, which is a crisis. Means that two things, remember, dangers and also opportunities. Also, of course, this pandemic will reset everything, including education. And as you know that, we have been really think hard after pandemic, how we are going to keep our education going forward and more vigorously. Now, come back to your early question on the China side, where China is the world's second largest economy. And today's forum will talk about a lot about the economy side. China's economic growth rate is picking up after lockdown. It's probably one of the best in the world right now. And of course, they have their own challenges in many fronts as well. China's recent announced the dual circulation strategy, coupled with the early announcement of Greater Bay Area development, and most recently, the RCEP, the regional in Asia economic cooperation, provide a lot of opportunities for not only people in Hong Kong, but also around the region and also the world. And mostly that we need the tenant to support and participate, engage those collaborations and so on. So Hong Kong's role as a connector for China and the Western countries are still very important in my view. And we should reposition ourselves that we're still a large tenant pool or hub for China and the world. And we're also a global platform for research and innovation. And this is, in my view, a very important role for university to play. And Hong Kong's own advantage that by both the unique one country, two system, and also internationalization and rule of law, Hong Kong can position itself very well in helping not only China, but also the region in Asia and the world. That I believe the Hong Kong is not only the Hong Kong of China, but also Hong Kong of the world. And we must stay open. We're a diverse society, and we respect different views and the different opinions. But also we have a great passion for globalization. As you know that Hong Kong has is one of the best places, have a great universities. Among top 50 universities, 5 of them from Greater China, and 3 of them in Hong Kong, which is the city of 7 million people. So we are really proud of our higher education, and especially our basic research are very, very strong. And as you know that is the source of innovation. And it's a treasure Hong Kong must to uphold, and we have to continue to develop our innovation and our basic research. And we must also open mind to get the best talent possible, regardless of their origin, religion, and other attributes, that as long as they can contribute to our best cause of education and research. Now, let me say finally that it's time for Hong Kong to set aside the differences and focus on common grounds. And as you know that Hong Kong, for many years, we are diverse society. We respect all kinds of opinions, but at the same time, we have rule of law, and that's the cornerstone for Hong Kong's prosperity. So I believe that like many parts of the world today, that there are many really polarized opinions and so on, and we need to come together. We need to mend our difference. And window of opportunity is here, but now could be passing. So we have to seize the moment and create hope and build a new economy for Hong Kong, for our young generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. And that I think is very, very welcoming information to those who may be watching from around the world and trying to get a sense of Hong Kong's positioning at this very important time. I do have one more question for you before I begin to take the questions that are coming in from the audience. And this question touches on a point that you made earlier on in our conversation, which is around the notion of relevance when we think about work. And so we know that the fourth industrial revolution and rapid changes in the world are posing enormous challenges to young people. The work environment has become far more competitive than perhaps it has ever been. Indeed, many jobs have also been lost in the pandemic, and the adoption of technology, even as new jobs are created. Now, what does this mean for institutions of higher learning, such as Hong Kong University, and for the students and for the teachers and researchers who need to prepare for this more demanding and more complicated future? I'd like you to say 1 or 2 more points pertaining to this extremely important area.
Mo, you're absolutely right. The digital age brought us a lot of convenience and much faster communications. But at the same time, the digitalization and automation increased the demand for the contractors and freelancers, for example, for more remote, flexible work. At the same time, certain traditional jobs are disappearing, and more jobs, in particular in the area of data, health, cybersecurity, will be created. Now, those actually trends cast a huge challenge for education itself. Let's reimagine our education, whether in the pandemic or after pandemic. What do we train our students? Do we give them the knowledge and skills as we do in over a century, past century, or we emphasize on more balanced knowledge acquisition, and same time, the creativity, adaptivity, okay? These are, in my view, later part are more important because the knowledge you learn today can be obsolete in 20 years. So what we need to give them a basic knowledge and foundational knowledge, but at the same time, teach them how to be creative, how can they innovate for the things that are not exist today. And secondly, the teacher's role also being challenged. Now we have the other type of teacher, the teacher online. And those are whether in person or as the online machinery that I call it digital teachers. One of those teachers can teach a student online over large scale, as many as 100,000 students at the same time. And this teacher can be the best teacher in the world, provide the best quality teaching. So that also presents a challenge to our regular traditional teaching classroom, whether 100 or 50 students. So we have to think about that, how university can cope with that in a longer term. Students' role. Now, learning to create and innovate is very important, as I just mentioned, and how we are going to provide that avenue for students to learn while they create and innovate. And that is not something in our textbook. So our teachers and students have to work together to create a new type of teaching modules or mode or methodology to enable us to work together, innovate together, and so on. Also, lifelong learning is very, very important. We have to teach a student not only learn the 4 years period of time, but also how we maintain our appetite for learn something new, even they are 50, 60 years old. And this is very important for the future generations because our world is changing rapidly over time. And how we collaborate with others also become very, very challenging. In the future, we know that we are not only to collaborate with humans, but also with robots, right? Online as well. And what is the university value in that sense? And how we collaborate, that is very, very challenging. And we don't know the answer yet. We need the transformation and reform on many things operate in the university. We cannot do business as usual in the last 100 years. And we have to adapt, innovate our teaching method and our way of interaction with the student. But as I say before, that any crisis will present a challenge, and this may be our moment of opportunities as well. And as you know that over 100 years ago, the Spanish flu is also the other major pandemic in the world that liberate the female workforce and productivity. At the same time, have enabled the widespread use of the electricity. So those are the revolutionary enablers after pandemic that change or transform our world. And I hope that you will see similar things probably happen after this pandemic. And I think we just have to embrace both challenge and opportunities together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. I'm hearing innovation, I'm hearing flexibility, collaboration, and indeed positioning for lifelong learning. Now there's one question, very important question that has come. I know that we only have 3 more minutes in this exciting conversation, but there is a question being asked by a member of the audience around online teaching and learning. And they say that this has introduced a new dimension in the digital divide between those who have good quality access to the web and those who have much difficulty in getting online. And they are asking, is there anything that we can do to address this? And Prof, I'm asking you in just 1 or 2 minutes, because this is also a question that is dear to my heart, coming from a developing country. What can we do to address the digital divide as we go forward?
Excellent, excellent question. Indeed, we are also facing the same challenge in Hong Kong U as well. When we do online, you know, Hong Kong housing is very challenging for our citizens. And some of our students are living a very limited house with their parents and so on during the pandemic time. So their online learning are significantly restricted because of their family members are in the same room and noise and so on. So these are really, really challenging for everyone. And I agree with the digital divide is a very serious issue, not only for the learning environment, but also the access of technology. And who have a best access also, of course, provide opportunity for these individuals, but who not, and who may lose some of the advantages. So I think at the university, at the government level, we have to seriously face this issue and look for solutions for that. In my view, that technology definitely can provide certain level of the solutions. For example, if in the future, whoever has a cell phone can access the internet, and that can, of course, enable the vast majority of the populations to access the online education. But itself is a challenge. How we can enable the cowboys or farmland kids, actually in Africa or in China or India, can access the internet. And so this is a global challenge, I would say. It's not easy question, but easy to overcome. But we have to keep trying. And I believe that when we build online module and things like that, if we keep that in mind, our modules and our teaching materials can be useful for many part of the world by the many kids. And that is very, very important. We have to keep that perspective in mind.
Professor, I really appreciate that perspective. And I think that your final comment around the need for us to keep trying is that which resonates in terms of our shared humanity. We really must continue to try, not just for ourselves, but for those who may not be as privileged as we are to have excellent education. This has been an enriching conversation, Professor Zhang. Thank you so much for your time. And I hope that everyone else that is listening to this conversation will enjoy the rest of this day. Thank you so much and have a lovely morning.
Thank you, Mo. Thank you.